All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good evening, Maggie. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studio in Fairfax City. We are very grateful that Maggie Reilly accepted our invitation to our show. Maggie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Claudia. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, no problem. Let's go back to the beginning in your life, Maggie. Were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how old were you when you perhaps began taking, I don't know, guitar lesson or piano lesson like all the little kids do?
My father was a singer with dance bands, like big bands kind of thing.
Yeah.
My mum played piano. She was self-taught, and they loved music. Music was always around. A Scottish family, Scottish-Irish family, you've always got music. You go to parties, family parties, there's always music. It's just one of those things. And so I started singing very, very young. And then a few times I would go and maybe sing a song with my dad when he was playing. And then I decided, I can't remember when it was, but I must have been quite young, but I started working with a band in Glasgow and doing occasional weekend things while I was still at school. And then I had a friend who was a writer, and he asked me if I would sing a couple of his songs. He was going to send them to Chappell's Publishing down in London, and he just wanted a different voice. And so I sung a couple of songs of his. He sent the stuff down to Chappell's, and we got word back. They didn't want the songs at that point, but they would like to record me record some singles with me. And it was with RCA, I think. And so my mum and I went down to London and we met them and decided, yes, okay, we'd do it. And I recorded, I think it was 3 songs in all. One of them was Imagine Me, which was written by the producer. I think it was a single. And the B-side was a Neil Young song. And then I did a James Taylor's brother, Livingston Taylor. He wrote a song called Thank You Song, which I really liked at the time, so I did a version of that as well. Then I went home to Scotland and sort of decided I didn't really want to do that. That wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. So I then went out and formed a band with Stuart MacKillop, who I still work with now. And it was called Joe Cool. And we sort of wrote some things and played bluesy type stuff around about Scotland. Then we broke that band up and we formed a band called Cado Belle, which became quite popular across Britain.
Correct, yeah.
And we recorded an album, we recorded a long EP. We recorded the album with the guy who did the Fleetwood Mac album, Keith Olsen. He came all the way across from America, saw us play a gig and said, right, you're going to be my next thing after Fleetwood Mac. That didn't go so well.
Wow.
But they put us in the depths of Wales to kind of work on the material. He was from LA. That wasn't his thing at all. So he was kind of, oh, come on, let's move. Then we went to the Cotswolds, to a recording studio there, which again was very quiet and not kind of his thing. We recorded the album, that all went really well. And then we made an EP with Muff Winwood, which we weren't really happy with at the time. And punk had started to come in. And so the record companies were getting really kind of into Billy Idol and all that kind of thing. And we thought, we're not really the right band for here. We kept working, gigging, having great success doing shows, but it just seemed like everything had turned to punk, if you remember that whole period in time.
Sure.
So we decided, let's stop while we're ahead. We decided we'd stop doing the gigs and stuff. We'd asked the record company to let us go, which I did. And Ian Ralphini said, if you're not interested, okay, I'll let you go. So then Alan, our guitarist, he went off to America, to Berkeley, to study guitar. Stuart went off to work with ABBA. I don't know what Davey did. I think Davey just sat at home thinking, why did we split the band up? And Colin and I, the sax player, and I, we went off to Ireland because our bass player Gavin had gone to Ireland to work with band over there about 6 months before, and we thought, oh well, we'll go and join him. And as we went to join him, he left, went back to Scotland. But so we worked there together for about a year, and then I decided to go home, and I discovered that Stuart and most of my crew from Cado Belle and PA people and everything were working with Mike on a tour. And so I thought, oh, I'll go and see them. I haven't seen them for such a long time. And that was how I started working with Mike, because I went to Dundee where he was doing a show. I was in the backstage sort of area chatting with my friends, and his wife, Sally Cooper, had been a Cado Belle fan. And she saw me and she said to Mike, I think you should get Maggie to sing with you. And so he then approached me and he sort of said, I hear you're a bit of a singer. And I kind of looked up at him and said, I hear you can play guitar a bit. I hear you're a bit of a guitarist. And we both sort of locked eyes. And then he said, do you want to sort of sing with me? And I said, well, when? And he said, now. And I was like, well, I don't actually know any of your songs because I'm a kind of funk. I'm into funk and Brazilian music. And obviously I've heard Tubular Bells, but I don't know it. You know, I couldn't sing it because the bits because I don't know it. So he took me into a dressing room and played acoustic guitar parts. I wrote down a load of notes and I did the show that night. And afterwards, Mike said, do you want to come on tour? So I said to him, well, where are you going? And he said, well, the first stop is Dublin. And I thought, oh, great, back to Dublin and with all my friends. So it was kind of like that. It was that weird. And one of the truckers called Big John, he had been somebody I'd worked with on and off over the years as well. And he said, look, I'll drive you back through to Glasgow and you can just pack a suitcase and I'll drive you to the boat to go to Dublin. So that was basically how I started working with Mike.
Story. Were you nervous? I mean, you knew who he. Well, Mike Oldfield was before he began playing with our singer. You know, Tubular Bells. He released, and then that track was used in the movie The Exorcist, and then he became very popular early in life. Right?
I know, and I knew him from Sally Angie because I used to be into folk music. So I had an album, had a compilation thing, and Sally Angie was one of the things. And some people I knew, not great friends, but people I knew had worked with Mike on the first ever live playing of Tubular Bells. So I knew who he was. I knew about him. I had heard the albums, obviously, on radio and everywhere. But it's just in Glasgow, Glasgow and Edinburgh are quite near. There's about 35 miles between them. But they're on different coasts, and the music in Glasgow tended to be very American, very funk, blues kind of stuff. If you went to Edinburgh on the other side, you had everybody was into Genesis, Mike Oldfield, all that kind of really big orchestrally kind of. We called it hippie music basically because we were into like gritty stuff, you know. And
all right, I understand.
All different things. And so I was familiar, obviously, with Mike's work, but I wasn't somebody who would have been able to sing it bit by bit. You go, this is the tune. I just wouldn't have. So it was interesting because it was something that I had always used my voice as an instrument in Cado Belle. I used to sing, use my voice along with guitars to do kind of harmonies, and with the sax and the flute, I would also do vocal harmonies with that. So I was kind of used to using the voice in that way. And it was interesting because that was kind of what Mike was asking me to do in the first place, was to use my voice within the instrumentation. So it was interesting to me because I was already kind of doing stuff like that. So no, it was great. And I was going off to be with my friends who I hadn't seen for about a year.
Of course, why not, right?
I know, bizarre, but the serendipity, I think they call it.
Gotcha. And then, so how long were you touring with him before you guys went back to the studio and recorded the first album that you ended up working with him?
Well, whatever the tour length was, we did whatever. I mean, I can't remember dates and things, but we did whatever the tour length was. And then when we got back, he went in to start doing QE2, and he called me up
QE2.
and said, "Will you come and start working on this?" Which I did, not knowing that I was ill with something like scarlet fever. So I had some weird illness, and I was thinking, I don't feel very well, and we were just keeping working on. And afterwards, I discovered that I'd actually had this bug that was, I couldn't lift my head off the pillow in the mornings. But the recordings were fantastic, really enjoyable. We actually did a version of the ABBA track "Arrival" with lyrics.
I see.
But,
Yeah.
but apparently they didn't allow, whoever didn't allow the lyrics, and so we ended up doing just the voice sounds.
Yeah, I got you. How was Mike Oldfield very demanding on the studio? I mean, he's the type of guy that he know exactly what he's looking for. Would you three takes or whatever it takes for him to keep happy, or was it like a back and forth? You were able to
It
express yourself and change.
depended totally on what we were doing. He is demanding in that he has a kind of vision of what he'd like, but sometimes because he's not a singer, really, he would have an idea in his head, and you had to work out what it was he was looking for. And so we would go this, try, we would try all sorts of different things to get, yeah, that's it. This is the sound the voice should be. This is the thing. And so some of the songs took a lot of looking at that and where are we going with this? Other ones were really simple, like Moonlight Shadow. He sort of said, an English voice, sing like an English girl. And I was like, but I'm a Scot. And he said, sing it like an English girl. And that's why it's so precise and so,
Wow.
But from memory, it didn't take very long to do Moonlight Shadow. I think it was actually quite fast, because we were in the studio, his studio, Stuart and I, in Denham. I'd said to Mike, we've got these tracks we'd like to mix. Is there any chance we could use your studio when you're not using it? And he said, yeah, obviously. And so we went in, and he came down to have a listen. And it was 2 tracks that we'd done, which were a bit like pop tunes. And I don't think Mike had ever heard me actually sing pop tunes before. I think that was the first time he'd heard me do like that kind of melodic thing. And so that was kind of interesting. And a while after that, he came round and said, I've got this song, let's try and work on this. And so then we started doing songs every so often after that, which was really, really nice, because then you were looking for a way to do things. And sort of things like Nights on Fire and stuff that Bonnie Tyler did in the end, I did the prep for them. Mike was looking for a kind of sound, and he was like, sing it hard. And he obviously was looking for Bonnie's voice in it. And when he got her voice, that was the perfect voice. But we kind of worked around the scenario. I would love to have a copy of the stuff we actually did of it. Be interesting to hear.
You don't have a copy? You do? Or you
No. Because we just worked quite fast. We were in the studio. Sometimes we'd be in the studio working really hard for really long hours till we just got, yeah, that's it. And other times it would be just very quick and simple. That seems to always be the way of working on things. I mean, I've done some things where I've gone in, I've sung it once, and that's it. Not necessarily with Mike, but with my own stuff,
with your own band, right? Yeah, gotcha.
Or something like, I had this idea to do Walk On By, the Dionne Warwick song, and this is a long time ago, and I sort of worked out with the guy who was going to be the keyboard player, like, this, I like a kind of massive attacky kind of thing, and we'll do this and da-da-da. And he put together a track, and I went into his studio and sung with the track. And we never ever changed the vocal. I tried to redo the vocal afterwards in our studio, and it was never as good as just that one first time when I just heard the track first time and just sung with it. And sometimes that happens, and when it does, it's like, wow, really good.
Good for you. And then a couple years later, in 1982, you worked with him in the Files 5 miles south, right? So
Yeah.
we're in between 1980 and 82. You were playing, well, you were working with other people, but you were touring as well with Mike, or?
Touring all the time. We would make an album and tour, make an album and tour.
I got
We
you.
toured a lot across Europe and across the world. We did a world tour at one point. Yeah, we worked quite hard, and it was quite a tight unit of people in the beginning, and then it changed at one point. Maurice Pierre, all of those guys went off. They were doing other things, and it changed over. And then Ant and Simon came. Well, Simon came, then Ant, then Phil Spalding, and a few other people. You know, they all kind of, and it was a different crowd of people.
Yeah.
So it was kind of two groups of people in the whole time I worked with Mike. The longest one was the first one with people like Tim Cross and keyboards and stuff, and we all formed a real relationship, all of us. And then when that changed, it went to the other crowd, and then we went off and did our thing, and it was a whole different deal. You know, so people like Tim Rennick and Rick Fenn, we all still worked together, even when we didn't work with Mike together. We just all got on really well and loved each other's playing.
Gotcha. Was it difficult to be touring for a longer period of time? Raising a family or having kids, or how?
Well, I didn't at that point.
You were single at the time, right? So you were able to tour.
I had always toured. That was kind of what I did all the time, and that's what I liked doing. And it was only when I decided we finished a tour, and I said to Mike, I think that I don't want to tour anymore for a while. I think I'm going to have some family life and just
Sure, of
stay.
course. Yeah.
And so that was why we stopped working together. And then my son, I can't remember what age he was, maybe 4 or 5 months old, something like that. And Mike called me up and said, I've written a song I'd like you to do. And that was Blue Night.
Wow.
And I went to hear it, and I thought, what a lovely song. So I did that, and then we did a couple of TV shows, one in Paris and one in Spain, I think, on that very song. And then I went off to do other stuff. But I got a few years after that, Jeremy, Mike's personal assistant, he got in touch with me and said, oh, Mike's got this song he wants you to do. And I was like, well, I'm really busy, but if you send me it, and I'll have a listen, and we can talk about it. And it just never worked out that I could do it, because I was always really busy by then. I had so much stuff I was doing. I was away a lot of the time, a bit like now. I'm finishing here, I'm going there. It's kind of like busy, but it's kind of how I like it. So I think it was a shame I didn't get a chance to do whatever the song was. And then a few years, well, actually more than a few years ago, there was a gig that Mike was going to do in Germany, one of these big concerts that it's an orchestra type thing. And there's a few different artists and stuff. And Mike asked me to do it, and I said, I'd love to do it, yes. And I had just moved to Scotland round about then, and I had all sorts of managerial things going on, and my mother was very ill. There was a whole load of things just all hit me at one time, and in the end, I couldn't do the thing with Mike, and I was so disappointed. And it was really lovely, because he got in touch and said, oh, it's really sad. Nobody can do this like you, and it's really lovely that you would have been great to have done it together, and I really, it was so nice that he thought that of me, but also it was sad that I couldn't do it, because I'd really have liked to have done it. But who knows, maybe one day.
Hey, maybe he'll call you back again after listening to this interview. He will call you back.
Well, see the Opus 1, the first show I did in Barcelona with them, I sat through their playing of Tubular Bells.
Yeah.
And it just brought back so many memories of whenever I wasn't working on stage, I would try to go out front to listen from the desk, just to listen to the instrumental stuff.
That's right. Yeah,
And it was just, it brought back so many memories, and I was just
absolutely.
really,
Yeah,
because live, it was amazing. I mean, it was incredible to stand next to Mike when he was playing guitar, because he's just so fierce. He's such a great guitarist, and he literally, the sweat was sort of spatter over you while he was really getting into the solo. And it was just lovely to hear the music again, and it really made me quite nostalgic. And I've spoken to quite a lot of the guys like Rick Fenn and stuff, and they've all kind of said, yeah, it was a really magical time when we were all doing that. It was just something, it's indescribable, but it's something that in your memory you keep, and whenever it pops up, you sort of go, oh yeah, that was really good. What a great
Abs-
time. Yeah.
absolutely. For in general, I mean, you look back in your life for the album QE2 or Falma South, Crisis, Discovery, Air Moving, any album in any period that is more appealing to you, that you were happy or happier than in one album versus the others?
No,
It's always,
I
complication,
enjoyed
but
all, I enjoyed
okay.
all of it, but I particularly enjoyed, we did a show in Athens,
Yeah.
in the amphitheatre just outside Athens, and I've never forgotten it, because just, it was an evening show, obviously, and the way the sort of rocks go up in the background, there were people hanging off the rocks, and the amphitheatre was absolutely crowded. And just as I started to sing the Diana song, the moon came right over and stopped right above us for a
Wow.
few
Wow.
seconds, and we all kind of went gasp. It was just, it was really magical. I mean, there were lots of moments like that. It was fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's lots.
Did you ever thought, I mean, well, sure, you think about your life, right? And as we get older and you think about, man, I did work with Mike Oldfield, Moonlight Shadow, to France, Foreign Affair, Falma South, Crisis, Discovery, Air Moving. Those, that's unbelievable. Some people will die to have only, have sung only one of those tracks, and you did, a lot of them, which great tunes. So, man, very, very, well, you are very talented, but you gotta look back in your life and be grateful for all the period and all the albums that you worked with him. And I told you before, he's one of my heroes. So
Yeah.
and I'm always surprised that I don't know how, because I'm not a musician, how Mike Oldfield will able to pick. Well, I want that person to do track two, that lady to do track four, that guy to do track five. How can somebody picture and make a relationship between a particular track and a particular singer and be decide, no, that person is great for that, but it's not great for this.
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, well, I think mostly when I worked with him at the beginning, it was just me that ended up doing the
Sure,
singing parts. And
right.
then as I stopped, then he brought in other people with other sounds. He obviously wanted the other sounds vocally and stuff,
Yeah.
and it gave more color to the
Mm.
things that he was doing, in the way he wanted it to be. And I'm not sure if he had trial and error. Maybe he had some people come and maybe he didn't use them in the end. I don't know, because I wasn't there when he was recording. But I do
Exactly.
remember at one point when he had Chris Thompson and everybody there. Um, it was quite exciting. I remember, because I know Chris for quite a while, and I remember going somewhere and everybody was there that had been on the album, and it was quite an exciting time for Mike, I think, because he had just brought together all these different sounds, and I suppose that's what he did musically originally,
Okay.
was bring together lots of different sounds, and then by the time he got to that album, he was bringing together lots of different vocal sounds as well. Because he'd
Got it.
also been through, like, the very first tour when he had the choir before I worked with him. I mean,
Yeah.
that again was a different sound. He had all these, David Bedford did stuff with him then, and it was, so everything, he goes, I suppose he goes through phases in his music, that he hears things that he wants to put in. I can't really speak for him in that. way, but
Yeah.
to me, it kind of looks like that's what it is. He just has an idea and he thinks, well, I'll follow this through. Where will it take me? Who will I look for? And perhaps he hears something. I mean, I heard something once on the radio and it prompted me to go and look for a band called Vertina that are Finnish. I loved the sound of the sound they made was amazing. And so I looked for them and I ended up getting them to do a track on one of my albums. And maybe that's what Mike, he just picks things up because he's, going through life and thinks that sound would work in this. I don't know, but that's how I work.
I got you. In 1985, you worked with Nick Mason and Rick Fenn. I think the album was Profile. Big name there, Nick Mason, of course. Everybody knows who's in. Mel Collins, David Gilmour, Rick Fenn as well, yourself in vocalist. You did vocals on the Live for a Lie. That's a very, very good album, actually. And
it was an absolute joy to do. David Gilmour is he's again another fantastic person to work with. I've just been really lucky in working with lots of people that have I really like. Rick Fenn, I loved working with Rick. We used to work together a lot, just recording various things. I've done some film themes and things with him. He would just call me over, we'd go over and we'd work. He always got a great sound in my voice. And I just really like Rick. I mean, we're still in touch every so often. He lives in Australia now. But whenever he's over, if I can manage to see him, I would try to, So it's keeping in touch. I mean, even Phil Spalding, we had a meeting. Oh God, we were talking about something he wanted to do, and we had a meeting when I was still in London. And then it was a real shock to find out that he wasn't with us anymore because he seemed very bright and alive when I saw him and had the meeting. He was, and it was, I suppose we're all getting to an age where that happens now. People are there and they're not, But fortunately, Tim Rennick's still around, Rick's still around, still quite a few people going. I mean, when I got the call from Jack Bruce to maybe do the things with him, Jack had always been an absolute hero of mine. And I was just, I was actually anxious about it because I thought, I've always bought his albums. I love him. How is it going to work out? But actually, I'd met him in a hotel on tour at one point. So I had chatted with him. And so that kind of calmed it down a little bit. And then when we went, I think we recorded it somewhere in Germany. I've forgotten where now. But it was fine. It was really good, and it was lovely to work with him. His voice, it was just amazing. And I've worked with his son Malcolm since then on a memorial, really, to Jack. There was a big concert that Malcolm put together in London, and just a lot of great people. Pete Brown, his lyricist, he was at it, and just all the people that had been working with Jack over the years. So it was a real kind of celebration. And that was lovely.
Deep in albums, right? So you work in the album in what, 89, Willpower, then Something Else, and then Cities of the Heart, and so forth. You have a long collaboration with Jack, which is amazing. Some people an album with someone and then go on, but
But then I switched over to Sisters of Mercy.
Sisters of Mercy, yeah.
Which everybody was like, what?
What is that?
I had done some stuff with some of the Stranglers before that, because the Stranglers, I was quite pally with JJ and Dave, and they made an album which I contributed some vocals to. So, I did go off with a tangent every so often, but it's just great fun to work with different people, with different ideas, and be able to contribute something to it. And then when you're finished, you think, wow, that was really great. I mean, that's what life is about for me.
I mean, you say the word luck and being very lucky. I think you're very good at what you do, Maggie. Maybe you're very humble and you don't want to say that, but
No,
you have worked with the best of the best. I mean, it's not an accident,
and
right? So
no, but it's been just because you're good at what you do doesn't mean to say that people ask you to do. Everybody doesn't like what everybody else does. I mean, I'm
yeah,
not being humble. I mean, I'm okay at what I do. I'm good at what I do because I've done it a long time. And if I wasn't any
sure.
good, somebody would have told me, you're not very good at this. And I've actually said to everyone that works with me, if there ever comes a day when I really sound rubbish, just grab me by the arm and
Yeah,
take me away and say, stop now. Because I don't ever want to get to the stage. I've seen some of my heroes um, at the end of their lives, and I know why they're out there doing it because it's what they do. But I wish I hadn't seen them because it saddened me to see that they were no longer up there. They were
there,
no
yeah,
longer in
yeah,
their heads. They were, but vocally they'd lost. And I would hate to do that. Apart
yeah.
from anything else, it'd be horrible for the audience to have to listen to me caterwauling.
Well, some people need the money and they keep on touring, right? Other bands, they they keep on playing because they like what they do. I don't know, the Who
No, that's
or
I
the
mean,
Rolling Stone. They are very rich. They have like $100 million in the bank.
but they love
They
it.
like to go there. They
That is
want to
their
be
life.
famous and travel and the crowd, the applause. They need
No,
that, right?
absolutely. I wasn't meaning that people do it because they need the money. I
Yeah,
mean, they do it because it's what they do, and they
they do
can't
exactly.
imagine not doing it.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that absolutely,
Mm.
because that for them that is what life is, and if they stop, probably they stop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that
Like a
much.
flower without waters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In looking back, anyone you wish you have had the opportunity to work with, or
That I wish I'd worked with
yeah,
loads
that
of
you wish you have the opportunity to work with in the past. So any
loads of people, but the two main people are people who actually asked me to work with them, and I couldn't at the time,
got
and
it. Yeah,
then they died. John Martin being one of them.
yeah,
I absolutely loved John Martin's work, and I was asked to do something with him, and by the time I could, he'd already gone. And Jerry Rafferty, I was asked to do an album with him, and the time they asked me, I couldn't do the days they asked, and then his
yeah.
producer died, and then not long after Jerry died, and so I never ever got to be on the, and that was really really sad. That was really sad because I absolutely loved their work. You know, I mean, Steelers Wheel. I've got all the albums. Uh, John Martin, I've got all his albums. Solidaire is one of my favorite songs ever.
Gotcha.
Um, and that's just the way of it, I suppose. That's just the way. Peter Gabriel, I would have loved to work with. I did. Stuart and I recorded an album in Real World.
Yeah,
At one point, we were going to do a piano thing that we just had an idea for, and they let us go up and use Peter's piano in his private bit, and we were sort of. It was like, this is so magical.
yeah. It's the room when you enter the room to the left, or
I
it
know.
is right now. I don't know if it was back then, but yeah, he has before you go inside the big room. There's a studio to the left hand side, and where he has his piano. So yeah, so
Yeah, and it was just like, oh my God, maybe some of the talent will rub off.
gotcha,
Because
gotcha, gotcha.
he's fabulous, Peter Gabriel. I
Yeah.
love his stuff.
Plus, he's a very good person. There are people that are famous and maybe I don't know, personality wise, or they are complicated or whatever. Who am I to judge them? But there are the people that are easy to work with, and other people that are so famous that they became I don't know complicated if this is the right word or not. But that's the way it is. How it's like to work with the David Gilmour as well. So
Well, we went into the studio, all of us, and it was like, well, this is the song, and we both kind of went, okay, this is the song, and it was very easy to work with him. He came across as a lovely, lovely guy. I
oh
mean, it
yeah,
was a day that I really enjoyed because everyone in the studio was just great. You know, they all sounded great, and they were all really nice people. And you can't ask for more, really. But no, I came away having a great admiration, even beyond Pink Floyd, for him. I just thought,
Really?
yeah, great guy, you know.
Yeah,
Plus,
he's
fabulous voice, great voice.
unbelievable. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
going to be touring actually. He's releasing his new record in September, and then he's going to be doing like 6 gigs at the Royal Albert Hall, like 6 nights in a row, and I think a night in between. But but it's amazing that people can do that kind of stuff. I mean, the Royal Albert Hall is, quite sure you've been there many times. It's
I've played
an
it.
unbelievable place, unbelievable
It's a
place.
beautiful building. I've done it twice now.
Yeah.
Once years ago with Cado Belle, and we were the support act. The only
All right.
problem with that stage is
Yeah.
they didn't have in-ear monitors back then. And if you didn't have monitors, you literally can't hear your voice on stage. And the
I
gig I
see.
did, I had my hand like this to feel my vocal cords vibrating because I couldn't hear anything at all the whole
Oh,
gig.
really? Wow.
And then the next time I did it was I got Mike and Simon to come along and do it with me. It was a friend of mine, Chuchu Merchan, and he was doing a benefit for Colombia when they had the disaster there. And
Right.
we all went down. We all went down. And I think I hadn't long had my son, and we went to do the thing, and so we're going, right, okay, so you're on that mic, I'm on that mic. This is how, right, okay, that's where we are. So we walked out on stage, and Mike walked to the mic I was supposed to walk to, and I walked to the one he was at, and we just got it completely confused. So I started singing the song. We did it just acoustically, and Simon was sort of tapping on something. And the engineer out front wasn't looking because he had set up where we were supposed to be. So I started the song with no sound at all. Nobody heard me for the first little bit of the song. So it was a bit, the Albert Hall and I don't have a good relation.
You have toured and have played in so many venues. Anyone in particular, or any night that you said, man, if I die tonight, I'm going to heaven, or whatever, because where everything clicked and the venue was great and the atmosphere of the people and the sound check was great. Anyone, or probably you have many, but you mentioned the
No,
one in Greece, right? So
the Greek one is the one that
yeah,
I always think of. But the loads of places, loads of gigs. I mean, I just did a gig recently at the Parthenon,
yeah,
and it was with an orchestra, and it was just when you do something like that, it's magical, you know. And then when you go
absolutely.
to one of the Venice, you play in Venice, or you play in one of those amazing sort of cities or venues. It's always wow, you know.
Amazing. I know exactly what you mean. In 1991, the album Echoes, for which you wrote the massive worldwide hit Every Time We Touch. How that track came together, the idea, the lyrics, the arrangement, you recall? Or?
Yeah, because this is a kind of funny one. I was asked to do the record a solo album, and so I thought, okay, so Every Time We Touch is about a specific incident in a hotel in New York when I was on tour with Mike. And my then boyfriend came out to visit me. And it was a hotel called the Mayflower, which is no
Oh yeah,
longer there.
yeah.
And they had many lifts. And so we were trying to, I'd just come back from rehearsals and he had arrived at the hotel and we couldn't find each other. And eventually we found each other at the right lift. And as he walked into the lift, his ring and mine sort of flashed, and the carpets were nylon. And you know how you get that?
Yeah, Electric
And so
Church. Yeah, I know it.
that's what the song's about.
Oh wow, no, I
Just
didn't know.
that complete thing. And it was a memory. And funnily enough, recently he bought me as a present out of the blue 2 of the glass ashtrays from the Mayflower Hotel that had been up on sale because they sold everything off when they closed the hotel. So I've now got these 2 little memory ashtrays, which is really nice. Little dishes.
Good for you. Good for
All
you.
these years later.
Yeah.
Many years later.
Yeah, 40 years later or something.
Yeah, really. But wasn't it nice that you remembered?
Absolutely.
What a man.
Absolutely. It's a very good album that you did finish recently, The Best of Maggie Reilly, Past, Present, and Future, where it's not the best album, right? So the songs are re-recorded and updated, and there are different versions, and feel free to elaborate on the process, because this is a very, very good album. Very, very good album.
It was just, people kept asking to do this, to do that, to do this. And we had started, for a long time, I didn't do the Mike songs
Sure.
at all. And it wasn't because I didn't like them. It was because when we stopped working together, I'd always said to Mike, if I make a song and ask you to come and play on it, will you do it? If I have some sort of success of my own, and then I ask you, but I won't ask you to come and do it in order to make the thing a success. It's only if I have something successful, then I'll ask you, would you do it? And he said, yeah. And so I always had in the back of my mind, not to, a lot of people work with other people who are very famous, and then they use that as their whole life. They kind of live off the coattails of the person they've worked with. And it doesn't sit easily with me. You know, even though I know I contributed and all the rest of it, it felt like that was our thing. And I had to do my own thing for a bit before I could come back to our thing and feel that I was doing it for the right reasons. And it wasn't to give myself the fame from, you know, the fame glowing from Mike. I didn't think that would be fair. I didn't think it was a good thing to do. And that might be stupid because a lot of agents and people were going, oh, you've got to sing these songs. And I thought, no, I've got to do this first and then I can do those songs again. And so eventually, after Touch and everything came out, I thought, okay, I can do these songs again now. This is great. And going back to them kind of refreshed them for me because I hadn't done them for a long time. And so it was nice to be able to, yeah, this is a great song. Yeah, let's do this again. And once I did that, people said, well, why don't you put your own version, your live version out, or this or that? And I kind of didn't really want to. And then we were at a point where I was trying to show people what I'd done, where I was, and where I was going, because Stuart and I were writing a musical. And that's what all the instrumental stuff is at the end. It's part of the musical that we were doing. And so it just seemed a nice time to do that, to do that song that way. This is how we play it live. This is some of the stuff we're doing live. And this is what the future holds. And that was really what it was all about. It was just to kind of say, this is where we're heading. That's where we've been. Hope you like it, that kind of thing. And yeah, a lot of people liked it. And some people said, oh, but it doesn't sound like, but it can't sound like, because that's not who's in, you know, it's not the same players anymore, and
of course, yeah,
different people, so it has to sound different for that reason. But yeah, it was quite well received.
Yeah, I really like it. As I was preparing questions for the interviews, I listened to a lot of the things you have done, not everything, but a lot, and that album resonated a lot with me because it's a combination of your own work and, well, your own version of the track. It's not Mike Oldfield. It's Maggie Reilly, right? So it's a very well done, very well produced. It sounds great.
Thank you.
So it's
like a history, isn't it? It's the history of my life so far, kind of thing.
Yeah, you might say.
Yeah, kind of, you know.
Yeah, it's looked at, right. So you say something very interesting. At the beginning, right, when you play with a famous person, whoever it could be, right, it will open some doors at the beginning, but then again, you need to prove yourself. You need to play with other people. You have played with other people, famous. So, you know, although that you were well known because you played with Mike Oldfield. That was only a part of your life. I don't know, 6, 7 years with 5 albums, but you have done, Rick Fan and David Gilmour and this and that, and you have done a lot of things. You have earned it, if you will, because not
Yeah, no,
just,
there's a
you
lot.
know,
There's a lot of things I've done. Some things I've even forgotten that I've done, to be honest.
yeah,
And occasionally people will say, "Oh, what about?" And I'll think, "What about that? Yeah, that was really good."
that's
And
right. Yeah, yeah,
it has been a long life of music. You can't remember everything. Um, but at the moment, I'm kind of. I think maybe because of the Opus One thing, it's making me think of some songs. The day after I saw you,
yeah,
I was supposed to do a radio interview with some of the
yes,
guys,
yeah.
and so I went prepared for a radio interview. And as I got there, it was like something like 10:30 in the morning in Spain. But for me, it was still 9:30 because I was only there 2 days. So I was still thinking British
You,
time.
yeah.
And so I get there, and then I'm told, "Oh, you're going to be singing." And I went, "Okay, nobody's mentioned that." Okay, what am I going to be singing? And then Xavier and some people came, and it was like, "Well, we're going to do Moonlight Shadow." Okay. Can I get some sort of run through? Nobody said there was going to be a live audience there of
Oh,
lots of people in the
wow.
room. But the radio station were great. They got the guy to come and do the monitor thing, and it sounded really nice. And then the next thing was, right, okay, so we need to get out because they're starting. Okay, fine, that's good. Right, well, when we go in, we're going to shorten the track. Where are we going to, which bit are we taking out? So like, what bit's going? So it could have been disastrous, but actually it was fine. But it was
Yeah.
just really funny because when we came out, I was saying to Xavier, I started singing a bit of Talk About Your Life and a bit of Sheba, and he was looking and he was going, and I said, "See, there's all these other things too. It's not just Moonlight Shadow. There's all these other great tracks."
Absolutely, absolutely. That
Yeah.
that for people that were not part of the Opus One, there was a great concert last 2 hours. The
Oh,
first the first hour, the titular bells, and the second hour, there were Anita, Rosa, Barry, Anna, Xavi. It was an unbelievable show. I mean, for
the
me,
the
it
band
was
are
unbelievable,
fantastic.
unbelievable.
The band are fantastic. When we did the
Absolutely, of course.
Barcelona show, it was just so magical. They really
Yeah.
are great. They're lovely people as well,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
really
Yeah.
nice people. So it was a pleasure to do a few shows with them. I mean, if some other shows come up and there is the time, I would love to do them because I've enjoyed doing them.
And I remember at the end, as you guys were leaving, there were a crowd of like 200 people waiting for you or for all of you, and you need to take picture and sign autograph, and more
Mm.
people were buying album and sign and stuff,
No,
which
they were
is
really nice people. I was surprised at the
yeah.
variety in the age group
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
it ranged pretty much from little kids
from 20
all the
to
way.
70. I think
No,
there are
there were
people.
kids younger than that. There were
Oh,
some really
right.
young kids who
Oh,
really
I
came
see.
up and said, "Oh, we like that song," so
Yeah,
very
yeah.
sweet.
Maybe guys in the 60s that they bring the kids in the 40 who at the same time have kids that are 10, 15, and they enjoy the music and they
And they're hit over the
brought to the
head with
show.
this music when they're sitting at the dinner table, the dad putting the record
That's
on.
right. That's
You
right.
will listen.
Yeah. And remember, a lot of people, even when you finish Moonlight Shadow, because I was sitting in the first row, um, a little kid, like I don't know, would have been, I don't know, 10, 12. Maybe he didn't speak in the language, but he approached to you with
Yeah,
with a
yeah, he
pen,
was
and you could
lovely.
sign that with, and
Now
you, I think,
he came round. I couldn't
oh,
do it then because everybody obviously was behind me. They were waiting to
I
do
say
their thing.
to the next, yeah,
So he came round afterwards. I saw him.
yeah,
I said, "Come round, come round." I
yeah,
saw him. No, he was very sweet.
yeah. It's great to see young kids, right?
It is, yeah.
Listening
You
and
think
applauding and
all is not lost.
Yeah, no, no,
You
no.
like the music
So,
too.
so what you mentioned before that you're going to be touring? You're going somewhere, and are you recording a new album as well, or?
I'm going to Ireland in a couple of days' time to do some rehearsals, and then we're going off to do some festivals. Then we are going off to do some more festivals around Germany and the Czech Republic, and going to Venice. No, not Venice. Vienna. We're going to
Yeah,
Vienna this time.
yeah.
And there's all sorts of places we're going to do festivals. And then the first week of July, we're going to go into the studio in Scotland, and we're going to just spend maybe 3 or 4 days and just put down some ideas. And that'll be the start of us starting a new album, basically. And then we'll be doing other gigs, tours here and there, and we'll just fit in the recording when we can. I'm hoping by the autumn time to have some really good music that we can put out for people to hear. That's the
Good.
plan.
And then you're going to be doing with your own band, or you're going to be joining other band to do other tribute band or so to do it
Mostly with my own band,
with your own band? Yeah.
my Irish Scottish band, because that's kind of the focus I've got on at the moment. But I'll be recording with them also. But in the in between times, I'll be doing sort of some things with orchestras and different kind of things that come up, TV shows perhaps. The main thing for me is not to mime. It's to sing live, because I can't mime
Oh
to
yeah.
save my
No.
life. I am hopeless. I just can't mime. It's just not. I'm not able to. My mouth goes in a different direction to what I'm thinking.
Sure. Because
So
people can I'm able to see where the person is, I suppose, singing or or with backup with tracks in the background, playing the music, right? So it's a big difference between singing
well,
live, right? So
it's a lot of things TV wise. The picture is the main thing for TV, it would seem.
right, yeah,
And so they want to just focus on that and then have the track so that they know
yeah,
everything will be, it'll be how they want to hear it. So I sometimes have trouble if I'm asking someone, can I just sing it live? Can I sing it live? But it's the only way I can do it. When I mime, you really can tell, because I'm hopeless. But it's the way some of these shows are that they need you to do that. And bit by bit, we're kind of pulling it back, because a lot of artists will come up afterwards and say, "Did you sing that live?" And I'll go, "Well, yeah, did you not?" They wouldn't let us. And so bit by bit, I think we're claiming back being able to sing live on TV. We shall see. We shall see. But as for the backing tracks, I have a bit of a problem with that, but for the fact that sometimes it's the only way you can do a show, because they can't afford to have a whole band there. They can't afford to have the thing that they might not get the sounds exactly how they want them to be. There might be some sort of flaw, so they like you to have. And since main stage has become a thing and people use it a lot to augment the band so that you get the sound that you had maybe on the album, if you had 20 people on the album but your band is only 5 strong, sometimes there is something about that makes it work. But I got into a phase a while back where we seemed to always have main stage augmenting the band, and I hated it because it curtailed the freedom of being able to individually do a show for the place you were in, and the next night it would be slightly different, and so I've been pulling away from that to the point where I don't want to have any of main stage. I just want everything to be live again, like it used to be. And obviously, it won't be an exact replica of an album, because maybe you'll have added a harmonica player or something that you don't have on stage with you. But as much as possible, I just want things to be live, because then if you want to make the thing go longer, you can. If you want to stop it in the middle, you can. There's a load of things you can do. So
no,
live is good. I'm all for live music.
same here. Any possibility of you coming? Well, if you end up once you go to a studio, if you end up release a new album, or coming here to the US and tour here? I mean, you will
It
be
would be
very
nice.
well received here, you know.
It
So
would be really nice, but again, it's logistics of how to get there financially with the band and all that kind of thing. But if it's
yeah,
possible, yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely love to.
there's so many great venues in where I live, Maggie, either in Maryland or DC or Washington DC or Virginia. There's so many great venues and many places you either you know or Opus One could play here. You know, it's,
And I imagine them trying to get all their equipment, all their instruments, and the whole orchestra and stuff. It's a huge thing. That must be why orchestras have to prepare 2 years in advance when they're doing things. It's always a 2 year gap before they can actually
yeah.
do new
Yeah,
music.
you guys unfortunately need to pay like as a musician, you need to pay a fee for the visa to enter and to perform in this country, and it's very expensive. So you need to secure, I don't know,
I know, I
10,
know.
10 to 15 to 20 show to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, you will lose money, right? So
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really have anything to do with that kind of thing. That's all managerial stuff.
yeah, yeah,
I don't really want to think about the financial aspect. I just want to think about what we can do musically and how we can play.
absolutely.
That's my thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
And most of the
Maggie,
time, I don't know how much I'm getting paid.
you don't know how much you get, of course, you
No,
don't?
usually I don't bother to ask. Occasionally,
Wow.
I'll just say, "How much do we get paid for this show?" But it's
Yeah,
not really as long as you can keep your head above water. I think that's the main thing, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
And play what you want to play.
Absolutely. Okay, Maggie, it was very nice talking to you. You're a very nice lady, very talented musician, very humble, and I hope to see you playing live somewhere, if not in the US, maybe in
Maybe in
Barcelona
Europe.
or
Yeah,
Europe.
if you're
Yeah, I
over
go there
here.
often, so yeah,
Well, there you go. There you go. Maybe we'll see each other there. If not, somewhere in Italy, perhaps. Who knows?
yeah. Who knows? Yeah, I know I'm going to, as I say, I'm going. I will go to Ireland because I never been there, so. I think when my son has time off from school, we'll go together with my wife as well.
Mm.
And I've never been in Ireland or Scotland. I would love to go there.
You will love it. You will love it.
I
We're
need to go during the summer because I think during the winter it's very tough with all the rain and stuff and the weather.
it's rainy everywhere at the moment. But we're probably going to be doing a winter tour in Ireland this year. That's kind of
Really?
we think so. There's talk of it, and we're kind of trying to get people organising it now. And when I know
Right.
about it, I'll push it on the website.
That would be, yeah, we'll
I think it's
we'll take you out.
important.
We'll take you out to dinner. We'll take you out to dinner. How's that?
Well, I'll take you out to dinner, but it's important that my boys get to play in their own country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. But come here to the
Yeah.
United States, man. Try to come. The people here, they love good music. As I mentioned at the beginning, they're here in this area between Washington and Maryland and Virginia. There are probably, I don't know, 50 venues. I mean, it's a lot. People really like music here. People,
Well,
right?
that's
That's
great.
what we're able to see 60 gigs a year for all the bands, big
That's
names.
that's really good to have people enjoying music. It's
Oh
important
yeah,
that
yeah,
we don't
yeah.
lose that, especially
Giving
after all the lockdowns and everything.
absolutely, yeah. I was going crazy. I couldn't see
Hmm.
band, but I would listen to my own music. I would not buying, and listen to me. But for me, music has given me so much satisfaction. I don't know how can explain it, but I couldn't live without music. And since I was a little kid in South America, my dad tell me that when they brought me back to the hospital, he put all jazz stuff like that, and very likely Louis Armstrong 78 RPM on in Chile. And when I was 14, I discovered kind of rock and roll, the Pink Floyd, the Led Zeppelin, the Peter Gabriel, this world, and the rest is history. So it's a music and seeing bands play live is a beautiful thing, man. So
Yeah, and it's great to do a live show and have an audience that you can actually see and work
right.
with. Yeah,
So
it's always great to feel like you're in that place with those people, and it's a of thing. It's
Yeah.
not just every time the same. It's just like that is specific for that day.
Like an hour and a half, you forget about your problem, you transport yourself and listen to good music, and then you the crowd, and maybe this, the band make a couple of mistake, or it doesn't make a difference. It's
It's
still,
part of the part of the thing.
you enjoy 2 hours of great music and in
Yeah,
many
it's part of the deal. Really,
absolutely. Uh,
and it's
All right.
great.
Thank you very much, Maggie. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck to you, and hopefully we will see one another very soon again somewhere in the
Well,
world.
hopefully, Claudio, we'll bump into each other in Spain, maybe. Barcelona would be good, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a nice time.
they have not announced that as far as I know, but you're coming.
Well, I hope so, because it's a nice town. I would do my best to get there.
Absolutely. We'll convince you.
Good. Okay, then. Well, thank you
Very
for
nice
this.
talking to you.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you.